UFC Fight Night Vancouver, Reinier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen just ended, and this is going to be my full card post-fight. I'm going to break down every single fight on the card, and what a wild and crazy fight card this was. RDR quits in the main event, quits on the stool in the main event, does his best Kevin Holland impression. Then we also have a bunch of stoppages on the card, a bunch of crazy third-round stoppages on the card. And on top of that, we have referee debacle after referee debacle. Big Dan Miragliotta should lose his job, even if you only count one of his debacles tonight. That's how bad this was. And you also have a little bit of Canadian commission bias, but we'll break that down later in the video. If you guys enjoyed these post-fight videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications and like the video. I would greatly appreciate it. Anyway, let's start off with the very first fight of the night, Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. Melissa Croden dominated this fight, dropped her with a jab in the first round, beat her up in the second round, almost finished her towards the end of the second round. Then the third round, took her down again, beat her up some more. Tainara Lisboa was trying to scramble, and she keeps getting beaten up and looking for arm bars, and she's getting beaten up some more. And then eventually she gets back to her feet and then basically fades and falls and doesn't even eat the ground and pound shots, but it's clear that she's done, and the referee finally jumps in. So Melissa Croden gets a third round TKO. Lisboa had a little bit of success early first round and even early second round where she was winning in the clinch a bit, but second round, she got taken down, like literally the sloppiest, like charging head first Croden takedown. And then as Lisboa got to her knees and started getting up, she started eating shots underneath the armpit. And then after that, basically it was done. She was gassed out. She was completely gassed out, got destroyed, got cradled takedown in the third round. Croden was able to get her down like that. And basically just started smashing her as Lisboa is just kind of scrambling around the ground, eating more and more ground and pound until eventually she completely quits in that third round. So good win from Melissa Croden in her UFC debut, third round TKO. Next fight on the card, Azamat Bekoev versus Yousri Belgaroui. Yousri Belgaroui gets a third round TKO, standing TKO. Basically, Bekoev just rushed in, throwing big shots and occasionally mixing in the takedown. He got styled on. Belgaroui was just tagging him with straight shots throughout the fight. I mean, Bekoev would get a takedown or two throughout this fight, but never really held on to it, never really cemented the position, and he was trying his damnedest. And by the end of the second round, I mean, he was taking nasty straight counters. He was taking multiple step-in knees. He was getting hurt multiple times. He basically was done at the end of the second round. In the second round, he did have one moment, like early, maybe midway point. Before the midway point of the second round, he landed a nasty right hand that I thought hurt Belgaroui. And then he clinched up and did absolutely jack shit with it. And then basically by the end of the second round, you could see the writing was on the wall. It was already done. Third round, starts getting his face jabbed off. Belgaroui starts tagging him with big punches, walking him down. Bekoev's falling all over the place, throwing sloppy shots back, and eventually the ref steps in and saves Bekoev. Great performance from Yousri Belgaroui. It's really styled on Bekoev. Bekoev had a little bit of hype, and man, it got turned off tonight. It was filth. It was a filthy kickboxing performance from Belgaroui, and he absolutely styled on Azamat Bekoev. And he showed decent grappling defense. He would get taken down, but he would scramble right back up, and he would use everything he could to scramble back up. In the first round, he used the Ruzaboyev's coach's celebration to get back up. If you know, you know. I just wouldn't be smelling those fingers afterwards. So Belgaroui gets a third round standing TKO. Great performance. Striking looked really solid. An interesting middleweight prospect. Next fight on the card, we have Stephanie Luciano versus Ravena Oliveira. Stephanie Luciano gets a third round rear naked choke. Was close up until like the midway point of the second round, but Luciano was winning arguably every single round. And then basically late, she was able to get her down and able to get the rear naked choke. I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember the exact finishing sequence on that. I wish I could. Did she catch it? I think she caught a kick. Let me look. No, she tripped her down with a body lock takedown. Oh, I remember. She took her down with a body lock takedown. Then she was standing, throwing ground and pound as Oliveira was like up against the cage. And then she threw Oliveira's feet to the side, landed a nasty right hand ground and pound shot. And then Oliveira went to her knees. Boom. Luciano just jumped on her back and choked her out. Nasty win for Luciano. And it's just crazy. Back to back to back third round finishes to start off this card on the prelims, but good win from Luciano. Next fight on the card, we have Danny Barlow versus Djorden Santos. First round, Barlow looked good. It was a close round, but I thought Barlow won the first round. I thought he landed more shots. I thought he was more aggressive and moving forward more. And then the second round, it looks like Barlow's just going to run away with this. He's tagging Santos. He tags him with a left hand. That hurts him. Santos loses his mouthpiece. The referee immediately jumps in, but rushes, gives him his mouthpiece, and then tells him to return to action. And it kind of screwed Barlow a little bit, but then Barlow lands that same left hand again, hurts Santos again, starts walking him down, landing good shots, big shots, but then eye pokes him, gives Santos a little bit of a break, but then goes back on the onslaught, but then gasses out, gets hurt himself with a punch, and then by the end of the round, like last minute of the round, is Santos just walking him down, almost finishing him. So Santos steals back the second round. And then the third round, Barlow essentially was losing on the feet, tripped, got like leg kicked, tripped, and then accepted bottom position for the majority of the round, or at least half the round. Got back up and did jack shit on the feet. So Santos wins. I had it 29-28, second and third round. There's maybe a case you could try to think second round for Barlow because he hurt Santos, but I think Santos came closer to the finish in the second round. And yeah, Barlow really, after he started to get tired in that midway second round, it's just like, he had nothing to offer. He started to fade, and he looked so sloppy on the feet. So good win from Santos. Fun fight, back and forth fight. And yeah, Barlow loses via unanimous decision. Next fight on the card, we have Bruno Silva versus Hyun Park. I'm kicking myself. I knew I should have picked Bruno Silva. I didn't want to give him too much of a participation trophy for losing to elite level opposition, but Hyun Park is not good. And it's crazy that he headlined an Apex event. And, you know, obviously he got finished there. But basically, it was Bruno Silva landing on the feet, stuffing takedowns with ease, was landing good uppercuts throughout the fight. Second round was kind of a hint at what may happen in the rest of the fight. I mean, Bruno Silva stuffed a takedown, immediately took Hyun Park's back, started to look for the rear naked choke, but wasn't able to find it. Then the third round, Bruno Silva actually started eating some damage. Park started to get aggressive, finding some shots, and then Bruno Silva catches a kick and takes him down, then looks to take his back. Or no, I'm trying to remember exactly how this happened. I got to think about this one for a second. I think he got back up, and then he had like the body lock, dragged him back down, sunk the hooks in, started looking for the rear naked choke. Hyun Park fights out of it, and then in a scramble where Silva's back up, Silva has his back. I think Park's like on his knees on the ground, and Silva just quickly latches up a rear naked choke with no hooks. So within like a 15-second period, you have Silva not being able to get the rear naked choke in the perfect position with both hooks in, to standing just bullying Park and latching up a rear naked choke. So good win for Bruno Silva, and proving that I guess he still belongs in the top 15 of the flyweight division. He really just went out there and bullied Hyun Park. So good win from Bruno Silva. And he gets the finish again in the third round. So what was that? Let me actually just check that real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the first 5 fights were third round finishes. Anyway, next fight on the card, we have Cody Gibson versus Aori Qileng. Cody Gibson comes out, throws a leg kick, and gets countered into oblivion with a nasty right hand, slumped out cold, hammer fist from Aori Qileng. And it's time for Cody Gibson to retire. Nasty finish. I'm glad I switched my pick on this one. Brutal right hand from Aori Qileng gets it done over Cody Gibson. Not much to say about this fight. Nasty KO. That's really it. Next fight on the card, the featured prelim. This is where things start to get a little bit dicier. Kyle Prepolec versus Drew Dober. Drew Dober walking Prepolec down, smashing the legs, landing big shots early, ripping to the body. And it's clear Dober's doing very well in the first round, but then towards the back end of the first round, Prepolec starts smashing in the jabs and even landed a head kick as well and bloodied up Drew Dober. But Dober still took the first round. Second round is where it starts to get a little bit, or actually it's third round. So second round, Dober's doing more of the same from the first round, throwing kicks, landing big shots, ripping to the body. He's clearly winning, but it's not like he's blowing Prepolec out of the water. Prepolec's still throwing back, doing well. He's on the end of a lot of Dober's punches, so it's not a lot of crazy damage. Actually checks a kick that cuts open Drew Dober's shin, and he's bleeding profusely. But then, at the end of the second round, or the last minute or so of the second round, Drew Dober gets dropped. He recovers, he survives, but he gets dropped. And because the round was moderately close before, Prepolec then steals the second round. And Drew Dober's corner was perfect. In between rounds, they're like, look, you were winning that entire round, and then you got dropped and you lost the round. So now it's 1-1 going into the third. So the third is where it gets dicey. Early in the third round, Drew Dober lands a picture-perfect groin shot on Prepolec. He drops bad. He's in agony. And there's a long break. And the referee doesn't immediately take a point. Like, he's thinking about it, whatever. He's talking to Prepolec. He's seeing if he can continue. And then, maybe it's because Prepolec took so long. Maybe it's because the ref was really thinking about it and he was going to assess it after the foul was over. They don't always necessarily do that. He then says, you know what, I'm going to take a point. And I believe any egregious foul, intentional or not, there should be a point deduction because then people would stop committing fouls. They would be more careful. This was square on the nuts of Prepolec. So the referee takes the point, even though it's the first foul, because of how much it impacted the fight. The commentary team's like, how could they take a point? I get it. Historically, this doesn't happen. There's not one foul and then there's a point deduction in the UFC. That's ahistoric. So it was a little bit weird that you have the Canadian Kyle Prepolec getting an immediate point deduction for a foul committed on him in Canada with the Canadian Commission. You know, maybe Ari Helwani's going to complain about this. But anyway, I actually agree with the point deduction, even though it's not precedent. Well, as soon as the point deduction ends and Prepolec takes this like full 5 minutes, essentially, he comes out, Drew Dober realizes, oh, now I got to win this round just for a fucking draw. And Dober comes out like a bat out of hell and basically walks down Prepolec and starches him the second they restart the fight. Nasty punches, nasty knees, nasty elbows, just swarming Prepolec looking for the finish. And this is exactly why the point needed to be deducted. It proved my point because Prepolec was so hindered and diminished that Drew Dober was able to do that to him. So it was a little bit weird that doesn't typically happen, but I do actually kind of agree with it. That Canadian Commission taking points from Prepolec or taking points from Dober against the Canadian and Prepolec, this definitely wouldn't happen later with the Canadian landing the groin shot and not getting a point deduction. We'll maybe talk about that in a little bit. But either way, this is the first kind of ref debacle. Again, I don't think this is a ref debacle because I agree with the point deduction. But this is the first hint of like, what the hell is going on here? So this was a disaster. The UFC, not this fight, but tonight was a disaster. It made the UFC look like amateur hour with the officiating from tonight. But anyway, Drew Dober finishes him. He gets the TKO. Prepolec looked tough. I hope he gets another opportunity. They'll probably give him another opportunity considering he's an NPC Canadian. And Drew Dober gets the win via TKO. Anyway, next fight on the card. We have the first fight on the main card. Actual referee debacle here. We have Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frevola. Big Dan Miragliotta should lose his job. So anyway, Kyle Nelson wins. Wins via unanimous decision. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure like one or two judges had a 29-28 Kyle Nelson. I don't know how you score a motherfucking round for Matt Frevola. But let's talk about what you guys want to hear about. Kyle Nelson is winning the fight, okay? It's close. Frevola's aggressive, but I thought Kyle Nelson's landing the better shots. Kyle Nelson drops him with the right hand, lands some knees as Frevola tries to get back up, drops him again, starts fucking just smashing him on the ground. And I'm like, all right, Big Dan, get in there. Stop it. I'm like saying stop it at like 10 seconds left in the round. And Nelson's just smashing ground and pound. Frevola's clearly out. And then at 3 seconds left, Big Dan finally jumps in and stops the fight. Clear as day, fact check, 3 seconds, he jumps in. Kyle Nelson celebrates, then goes over Frevola. Frevola knows it's over as well. He's bleeding, he's battered. Then Big Dan's like, no. It's the fight's still going on. And somehow nobody from the commission, no other ref, nobody else says, dude, you jumped in and you stopped it. And it was a late stoppage. So he jumps in and stops it with time on the clock. It was actually a late shit stoppage. It should have been stopped earlier. And now he's saying, no, we have to continue. And not one person from that commission, not one other ref came to him and said, no, we need to call this off. It's a TKO. They couldn't fix that. Big Dan should be fired. He should lose his job. He should never work for any commission again. Never, ever, ever again. This was egregious. So then the second round, so now Kyle Nelson's kind of getting an adrenaline dump, comes out. But to be honest, he did well. He was hurting Frevola to the body. He was bashing his brains in. And Nelson's winning. Frevola had some moments. It wasn't complete and utter destruction. But then the third round, Nelson hurts him multiple times again. Gets him down at one point. Kind of is like stalling towards the end of the third round because Kyle Nelson's completely exhausted because he kind of blew his load in the first round. Not completely. And Matt Frevola just takes CT after CT after CT for the second and third round. And malicious body destruction as well. I mean, nasty body kicks, teep kicks, leg kicks. And to be honest, Frevola took unnecessary brain damage at damn near, what is he, 35 years old? Let me look that up right now. 35 years old. And it could have easily been, it was a late stoppage in the first round. And Big Dan said, no, we got to keep it going. So Big Bald Dan should be fired. He should never work again. And it's just sad, man. It's just sad that it's this bad. That they can't get it together. I mean, it's like the three fucking stooges out there, to be honest. And this isn't even... This isn't even the... I mean, really, that doesn't even apply. The Three Stooges really applies to the co-main event. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, Kyle Nelson gets it done. How shitty is it? He kind of got robbed of a performance bonus. All to give Frevola the beatdown of his life. So really sad, disgusting performance from Big Dan. I have no sympathy for him. There's no charitable explanation. He fucked up bad. And this isn't the first time he's done this. He's recently let fights go on after the horn. I believe that was at UFC Paris. And he stepped in at fights and stopped them a couple seconds before the bell as well. Before. I think there was one time when there was a submission going on. So Big Dan is washed. Big Dan should not be reffing any fight. And this was a really egregious display of officiating in the Kyle Nelson-Matt Frevola fight. Anyway, next fight on the card. We have Charles Jourdain versus Davey Grant. What's there to even say? Grant was just pressuring, throwing big shots. Jourdain threw the flying knee twice, maybe three times. I think he landed twice. Hurts him badly with a flying knee. Drops him. I mean, it should have put Davey Grant out cold. It was flush, landed crisp, and then Jourdain just snatches up a guillotine and chokes out Davey Grant. This is a good win for Jourdain. This is a performance that I know Davey Grant isn't the most known, but he's a good veteran who's hard to put away. To go out there and put him away with absolute ease, I think it's pretty impressive. So Jourdain gets it done over Davey Grant. Not really much to say about this fight either because it didn't last very long. But Jourdain's kind of earned a step up in opposition after this performance over Davey Grant. Next fight on the card, we have Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. First round KO for Manon Fiorot. Back shots dead. Essentially, Jasmine's kind of rushing in sloppily, and Manon Fiorot looks like a little bit off-put by the pressure. I'm like, she looks kind of weird. She looks, boom, catches her with a nasty punch, rocks her bad. Jasmine's doing the stanky leg a little bit, and then I think she eventually falls over as Manon Fiorot tries to swarm her. She ends up face down, just getting smashed with back shots, and that ends Jasmine Jasudavicius' win streak. So Manon Fiorot gets it done. Crazy to have that crazy of a knockout in a women's fight, but Manon Fiorot is really, really good and has nasty striking. I actually picked her to beat Valentina Shevchenko, even though ultimately she was unsuccessful. She put up a decent effort in that fight. Jasmine was never really able to get off any takedowns, and basically she just got cracked, man. She got cracked, and it was done from there. She really had no chance. After that, I think it was a right hand that landed. She really had nothing to offer. She was wobbly, and then boom, she just gets smashed out on the ground. And I think this was Big Dan, if I'm not mistaken, ref in this fight, and I was thinking he might restart it. I was wondering, is he going to restart this? Is he going to restart the fight? But yeah, Manon Fiorot goes out there, puts on a perfect performance, doesn't even get touched in this fight, and puts out a rising contender, Jasmine Jasudavicius. Next fight on the card, the featured fight on the card, we have Marlon Vera versus Aiemann Zahabi. Aiemann Zahabi gets it done, man. I don't want to see Marlon Vera fight ever again. Zahabi just squeaks out a split decision win. I thought it was close. I thought maybe he could have gone to Cheeto. But it was so close, man. Zahabi early was throwing some good inside leg kicks, but was being super tentative and circling. And Vera wasn't doing much. And like Aiemann Zahabi has that interesting style that's hard to really hit. And Zahabi started pressuring back into the first round and doing some damage. But like a lot of it, he was landing some decent shots, but a lot of it was swinging and landing at air. Cheeto was landing some teeps. And I think there was one elbow, standing elbow, that landed from Vera as Zahabi was closing distance that cut up Zahabi. So I thought first round was maybe debatable, but I scored it for Zahabi. Then the second round, Vera drops Zahabi with a jab and then lets him completely off the hook. Swarmed him like one time, landed a body shot. And then after that, it was like Zahabi just walked him down, and there wasn't a whole lot. Marlon Vera still clearly won the second round because he hurt him. And then the third round, neither one of them did much of anything. Zahabi was just more active. So I think there's a case to be made for Vera. Maybe 1 and 2, but I wouldn't. And then 3 was just dog shit. Vera, like he was talking recently in an interview, yeah, I really wanted to hurt O'Malley. I fought with emotion. Like, dude, you don't fucking throw anything. Like, you have crazy stamina and crazy durability, and you're scared to throw? So Zahabi is a damn near 40-year-old contender at this point, beating Marlon Vera, who honestly I don't want to ever see fight again. He refuses to actually fight. He doesn't put on good performances. I mean, how long has it been since he tasted victory at this point? Let me look this up. Isn't he on a long losing streak? Yeah, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. Hasn't won since he beat Pedro Munoz. He beat Pedro Munoz by the skin of his teeth. So Cheeto, if you really think about it, he could be on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-fight losing streak. And what's insane is he was losing against Dominic Cruz until he landed the head kick. He was losing against Rob Font for the majority of that fight too and had big moments. He just only had one big moment in this fight. And even though it's 3 rounds, he didn't pick up the pace at all. So Marlon Vera loses. Zahabi, decent boxing, very hard to hit, super defensive, has that shelling boxing defense that he's really hard to get a beat on. And Marlon Vera is able to go out there and just shit the bed yet again and not throw anything for the entirety of the fight. What a complete and utter embarrassment from Vera. So good on Zahabi. I think he called out O'Malley afterwards. I don't think he would get that fight. But how funny would it be if Zahabi beat up O'Malley? Oh my God. Sean O'Malley, his career would be completely over at that point. So Zahabi, you know what's crazy? Merab keeps winning. Zahabi's going to be getting him title shot soon. So he gets it done over Marlon Vera. And yeah, Zahabi gets it done. Nothing more to say. Next fight on the card, co-main event. We have Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. Mike Malott wins a fairly uninspired decision win. First round, Malott got briefly dropped, but then came back and was doing decent and started to win. There were some scrambles where Malott dropped Kevin Holland on his head like twice, took him down, but then Kevin Holland scrambled right back up, used the momentum to get back up. But then there was a kick that grazed Kevin Holland's nuts, and they stopped the fight for a brief second. Then they restarted it. And then Malott cracks Kevin Holland again with like a right hand, and Holland clinches up. Most of the time that the clinches were being initiated was Holland getting cracked and then initiating a clinch. And then in the clinch, Malott knees Kevin Holland to the belly, but I guess the foot or the ribs or the knee catches the cup on the way up, and Kevin Holland just goes face down, ass up. And Kevin Holland's in agony. He's rolling around on the ground. I think he's kind of milking it a bit. I think he wanted a point deduction. Kevin Holland just shows up for paychecks. I think he was really milking it, hoping for a point deduction. After seeing earlier tonight, Prepolec getting that, or Drew Dober getting the point deduction against Prepolec. And Kevin Holland takes the full 5 minutes. And then finally, like Big Dan's like, you got to decide, man. You going to go or not? And gives him like an extra 30 seconds. I should have went back and timed that. And Kevin Holland's like, oh man, my nuts, bro. I am telling you, I thought he was milking it. Maybe I'm dead wrong. I thought he was milking it badly. Finally, Big Dan's like, oh, you got to choose. And then Big Dan's finally just like starting it up without Holland really saying much of anything. And very weird. And then Holland's like walking away and like grabbing his nuts, like almost like the fight's over. And Mike Malott doesn't know what to do. Malott should have went after him heavily. He landed a couple good shots after that. But then, in between rounds, Holland's like complaining, my nuts. I wanted that point deduction. By the way, when he heard, I forgot to mention this, when he heard Big Dan, Kevin Holland seemed like he was going to recover and be all right. And then when he heard Big Dan say to Malott, you know, I know it wasn't intentional, but if you do it again, I'm going to have to take a point. Kevin Holland had a look on his face. He scoured over at Big Dan. And then that's when he's like, I don't know if I can continue. He wanted that point deduction. So anyway, the real scandal is at the end of the second round. So Kevin Holland's grabbing his nuts the whole time, to the fact that Big Dan brings in the doctor. What's the doctor going to do? Suck him off? Look at his nuts, cradle his nuts, caress him? The doctor's like, hey, Kevin, are you going to be able to go? Kevin's not answering him. He's like, look, I need a yes or no, or I'm going to tell the ref, and he's going to stop it. And Kevin Holland doesn't say anything. He presses him. I went back and timed it. It's like I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was like 1:40 that Kevin Holland got extra in between rounds, where the doctor's essentially begging Kevin Holland to fight. Then Big Dan is begging Kevin Holland to fight. He's like, I'm going to have to stop it. Then Big Dan says the dumbest shit I ever heard in my entire life. He said, if you can't continue, you are going to lose by DQ. Why would we not lose via TKO due to retirement? Due to quitting on the stool, essentially. Why would he lose via DQ? Refusing referee's instructions to fight? It would be retirement. It would be basically a verbal tap. Why would he get DQ'd? It makes absolutely no sense. But nonetheless, he gives Kevin Holland minutes to recover. Extra minutes, extra 2 minutes to recover. And like he's going back and talking over here. And then there's like 2 doctors in there. And I think it's like, maybe it's a doctor and a commission member. And then Big Dan's talking to someone else. He's covering his mic. He's basically like, I don't know what to fucking do. I don't know what to do. He's not fighting. Well, then you wave it off, you dumb bitch. You big dumb bald bitch. You wave the fight off. It's a TKO. He lost. Like, what do you, it looked like the Three Stooges in there. And it's just crazy, too. He's like, you're going to lose via DQ. I've never heard that before. I don't know if he misspoke or what. And then Holland was like, 2 kicks in a row, man, and that's an accident? Like, Holland had enough wherewithal to say that. Anyway, Holland ends up continuing. Basically, it doesn't ever look like he ever said anything. And they finally started back up after him buying 2 minutes. Malott looks tentative, starts tagging him on the feet, but not really doing a whole lot. Holland landed an uppercut late that busted up Mike Malott. And then the third round, Malott was tagging him again. Holland had some moments. Malott got a takedown and got some control, did some ground and pound. I even looked for an arm triangle, which Holland used to kind of scramble out. I thought Holland was going to quit there for sure. I scored every round for Malott. But I'll say this right now. I mean, this was pathetic from Kevin Holland. It was pathetic from Mike Malott as well. But I think Holland really wanted that point deduction when he didn't get it. He was like, what the hell? Like, he was like, well, wait a second. Prepolec took the full time and he got the point deduction. I took the full time. I don't get the point deduction. It seemed like that's what he was trying to do. I don't know if this is going to become the new normal, but that's what it seemed like. And he basically quit on himself. He's quit multiple times. Quit against the leads. He quit on the stool against Wonderboy. Holland shows up for checks. He's like, man, do you know where the 4570 is, brother? I want to go to... Kevin Holland essentially lost this fight because he didn't want to go to Walmart and get recognized. But let me end this analysis, the synopsis with this. So, they're in Canada with the Canadian Commission, and you have 2 separate fights with Canadian fighters. You have Kyle Prepolec, Canadian fighter, Drew Dober, American fighter. You have Kevin Holland, American fighter, and Mike Malott, Canadian fighter. You're in Canada with the Canadian Commission. Mike Malott lands 2 groin shots. Both of them were kind of grazing, but 2 groin shots. There's no point deduction because he's Canadian, maybe. And then you have Prepolec, who gets groin shot at 1 time, and Drew Dober immediately gets a point deduction. I smell a conspiracy theory. Or does this not matter if it's not in the Middle East with Muslim fighters, with an American commission and an American referee and American judges? Maybe is Ariel Helwani going to be bitching about this for months on end? Oh man, Kevin Holland wasn't playing with a full set of cards. Just to wrap this up, because I know some people don't understand my sarcasm and they're going to be calling me out. Joey, blah, 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 blah. The fucking commissions in almost every country or every state, even because American obviously has different commissions, are incompetent. It was the Three Stooges in there. It was a complete embarrassment. By the way, I forgot. I think they scored. Maybe I did say this. I'm getting tired. I think they scored. 1 judge or 2 judges scored a round or 2 for Frevola. A round for Frevola, which he lost every single round. But where are the people crying about this? If this was, could you imagine if the Canadians in these examples were Muslim, Dagestanis, Russians, whatever you want to, Caucasus region fighters, and this was in the Middle East and this point deduction happened, Ariel Helwani would be screaming from the rooftops. The anti-Dagestani fans would be screaming from the rooftops. I am just here to point out the hypocrisy. I believe a lot of these bad calls, whether they're in the Middle East, whether they're in Canada, whether they're in America, is incompetent commissions. It is incompetent officiating. And you know what? Big Dan made 2 calls that he should have been fucking pulled. He should be fired. But yet they still had him out there reffing a co-main event after performing like this. What other job do you get away with doing a shit job over and over and over again and not being held accountable for it? It's insane to me, man. It really is. And it's like, I know these are throwaway fights and who gives a fuck about Kevin Holland, Mike Malott, but this is getting egregious, man. It really is. How's he going to let Kevin Holland continue, then buy him an extra 2 minutes? Could you imagine this was a title fight, an important fight? Could you imagine if this was like a Hamzat DDP or, whatever it may be, even a Pereira Ankalaev? Imagine if Pereira kicked Ankalaev in the groin and then Ankalaev got an extra 2 minutes in between rounds. I would be complaining the same. I know people I shouldn't even brought that fight up. But you get the point. Imagine, I know people are like, I don't care. It's Holland Malott. Who gives a shit about both of them? They're both scrubs, essentially. Imagine this isn't a fight that matters, man. I'm tired of the commission. They'll go out of their way to do Dana White's bidding and say, we want the Muhammad Ali Revival Act. But they never improve. They're like ESPN Plus. They've been shit for years. And this co-main event and this performance from Big Dan was absolute travesty. Anyway, next fight on the card, the main event. We have Reinier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen. Look, a lot of people say, Joey Cope. Joey's salty, man. I'm actually salty about this. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really salty about this one. I thought RDR was a lock. I thought RDR would win this fight. I did say Brendan Allen could have a bit of a chance. Like, I thought people were underestimating him, but I was still rather confident in RDR. Especially considering Brendan Allen was coming in on short notice. I thought if Brendan Allen came in on a full camp, he had a much better chance. And watching that first round, RDR shot a takedown, got stuffed, went right to the clinch, took him down, and had his way with him. I mean, the level of domination in that first round was embarrassing for Allen. I mean, he had his back, body triangle was flattening him out, landing some ground and pound, nothing insane, didn't throw a lot of ground and pound. But when he did, he picked his shots and landed good shots. Lady went for the armbar because he knew the time was running out. And it's like, oh my God, RDR is going to steamroll Brendan Allen. Then in the second round, RDR gets a takedown, struggled a little bit, got a takedown, had him up against the fence, tried to get both hooks in and push against the fence, ended up on bottom. And then Allen beats him up a bit, lands good ground and pound, good elbows. RDR's like flailing with his legs. When he's not body triangling from bottom, he's flailing his legs up. And Allen's just finding nasty ground and pound, smashing him with elbows, smashing him with punches. And then after that, that was the end of it, man. That was the end of it. I think RDR got another takedown in the third and then got out scrambled again, basically immediately this time, if I'm not mistaken, and ended up on bottom the rest of the round. And at the end of the third round, Reinier de Ridder could barely get up off the ground. And then, in the fourth round, he's looking like dog shit. He's laying on bottom. Allen's exhausted too and not doing a crazy amount of damage. But then the end of the fourth round, RDR can't barely get up. And I'm thinking, dude, they need to throw in the towel. This is over. There's no point in this continuing. He clearly has nothing. And then finally, they didn't show it, but I'm pretty sure they threw in the towel. And I think it was the right call in the corner. And I know everyone's, RDR quit on the stool. He did quit on the stool. I don't know how you show up to a 5-round fight with 1 round of cardio. And imagine had he been taking on Fluffy Hernandez. He would have got absolutely slaughtered because Fluffy just doesn't stop. So good win from Brendan Allen. He ends all the hype of Reinier de Ridder. How washed is Whitaker? How shit is Bo Nickel? How good is Sean Strickland? How good is Amava? I'm losing my mind. I don't even know what to do. What's going on with the rankings now? Because Allen's like jumping in on this opportunity. By the way, best decision he ever made. I think this was a pathetic performance from RDR. Like, I get it, okay? I know the excuse is going to be, he cut weight 4 times this year. Give me a fucking break, man. If you can't cut weight 4 times a year, then you're at the wrong weight class. But to have 1 round of stamina in you. And what's crazy is he didn't even throw a lot of ground to pound. He didn't struggle to keep Allen in the position. So how did he gas out? Like, I'm baffled. I'm literally baffled. I still can't wrap my mind around it. So Brendan Allen gets it done. If you look at the rankings, let me see if I can open the rankings real quick. If you look at the rankings now, right now you have Reinier de Ridder at 4. Brendan Allen's at 9. So I don't know if they're just going to swap him in. There's a chance Brendan Allen's going to be ranked over Fluffy and Adesanya. My guess is they would move Fluffy up to 4. Maybe put Allen above Adesanya or behind Adesanya at like number 6. I don't know. But good on Brendan Allen stepping in on short notice and getting it done, having way more stamina than RDR. I guess it's the Bilal Muhammad effect. Yeah, Bilal Muhammad in his corner. That's really what was the difference maker in this fight. I still can't believe it. I'm genuinely flabbergasted. It wasn't even the greatest performance, but I will say, factoring in that he came in on short notice against a guy on a crazy long win streak, a guy who's looked super impressive, bullying guys at middleweight, I think it was damn good. Again, it was basically RDR just gassing out and Brendan Allen taking advantage of that. I still think RDR is the better grappler. Allen was landing some decent shots on the feet. And you know what I'm thinking of? I think I misspoke. I'm trying to remember. Hold on. Was it after the third round? No, it was after the fourth round. And in the fourth round, I think Brendan Allen just scooped him up with a double leg and took him down with ease. I don't know if I misspoke earlier or not. But basically, first round was RDR, second and third, fourth, Brendan Allen. I think RDR got a takedown in the third, got out scrambled. Second, got a takedown and got out scrambled. And really, it was just RDR in his corner deciding he wasn't no more good. So good win from Brendan Allen, factoring in the fact he took it on short notice, impressive performance. But when I say it's not that impressive in a way, it's I didn't see any jiu-jitsu that knocked my socks off. I didn't see any striking that looked super elite. But you gotta credit Allen for beating De Ridder after De Ridder's coming off a win over Whitaker. But I'm beginning to think Whitaker's actually washed now. We'll have to see when whoever Whitaker fights next. I think Whitaker's washed. But yeah, Allen gets it done. Calls out Dricus afterwards. Would actually love to see DDP Allen. Would love to see it. I wanted to see RDR versus Dricus to slop fest. I still wouldn't mind seeing that. In first round, I was saying, man, RDR would whoop Dricus. And I want to see that fight. And now I'm thinking, how wrong was I? That's laughable. Now thinking about this. Maybe there was something going on. Maybe there was a staph infection. I don't know. But I'll tell you, whatever it was, that level of cardio was absolutely unacceptable. And Brendan Allen gets the fourth round TKO, I guess, retirement TKO. So, and Allen said coming in this fight, I'm going to break him. So, stepping in on a month's notice and having better cardio than your opponent who was on in a full camp, supposed to fight Fluffy. Fluffy would have mopped the floor with RDR after the first round. Fluffy would have finished him badly. So, good win from Brendan Allen. The middleweight division is completely shook up. Allen is back on the winning track. He beat Vettori. Now he beat RDR. He made the best decision of his life stepping in for this fight card. So there's my post-fight for UFC Vancouver. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.